have reached any the part. We have reached any the part where Al-Imam Al-Haddad and he speaks any the author of Muqaddimah Hadramiyyah and he speaks any about the conditions any of prayers. Let me just find this. Chapter, okay. X. We have covered any chapter on the recommended X. So today, inshallah ta'ala, yes, salam. Okay, this is one. So this is the chapter that we are entering, inshallah ta'ala, where the author mentioned on the conditions in your prayers. There is a difference between conditions and integrals. We have covered the integrals in your prayers. The difference is that integrals are obligations that we perform in prayers, whereas the conditions are the obligations that we have to perform before prayers. So he mentioned وَشُرُوطُ الصَّلَاةِ الْإِسْلَامِ, yani conditions of the prayer number one is Islam, meaning that a person must be a Muslim in order for the prayers to be valid. In order for the prayers to be valid, that he must be a Muslim. If a non-Muslim and he performs any prayer, the prayer is not valid because intention from a non-Muslim is invalid. So if the intention is invalid, the ibadah will also be invalid. So this is point number one. Number two, tamyiz. Prayer is valid for a mumayyiz. What is the meaning of mumayyiz? Mumayyiz is a child that has reached the discretionary age. This one is a bit difficult sometimes to pronounce. But ala kulli hal, when we say a child has reached this stage, he is able to differentiate what is good and what is bad. He is able to eat and drink. He is able to eat and drink by his own. He is able to wear his clothes by his own. He is able to go to the toilet by his own. So we say this is mumayyiz. So if a child is mumayyiz, the prayer is valid. But if a child is not mumayyiz, then the prayer is not valid. The prayer we do not count the prayer as the prayer is valid, because child that is not mumayyiz, he cannot differentiate what is good and what is bad, and he cannot learn. He cannot learn, for example, he cannot understand certain things. So that is why we say here the conditions of the validity of prayer is that number one, must be a Muslim. Number two, must have reached at least tamyiz, the discretionary age. وَدُخُولُ الْوَقْتِ وَالْعِلْمُ بِفَرْضِيَّتِهِ. وَدُخُولُ الْوَقْتِ meaning the time in your prayer has come. This is the condition, that the time in your prayer has come. So if we are speaking about Isha prayers, so now we cannot pray Isha. Now we are still in the time of Maghrib. So we have to wait for the time of Isha, then only we have to perform our Isha. Dukhulul waqt, the entering of the timing is a condition. وَالْعِلْمُ بِفَرْضِيَّتِهِ. And it is a condition also that in order for your prayers to be valid, that you have to understand what are the obligations in prayers. What are the obligations in prayers? So we must be able to differentiate what is wajib and what is sunnah. We must be able to differentiate what is wajib and what is sunnah. What does it mean? For example, if a person is praying and he believes that recitation of Fatiha is sunnah, recitation of Fatiha a sunnah, or he thought that prayer is sunnah, not wajib. The 5 times daily prayers is a sunnah, or any of the integrals as a sunnah, the prayer will not be valid. The prayer will not be valid. So there must be certain knowledge that a person must have. At least he is able to differentiate what is the wajibat and what is the sunnah. What are the obligatory integrals and what are the recommended acts. He is able to differentiate, then only any we say the prayer any is valid. If a person any prays any for 20 years but is ignorant of any of the integrals in your prayers, he just any follow people, copycat for example, yani when people do the sujud and he does the sujud, when people do ruku he does again ruku. So he learn prayers any just by observing any others. So if this is any the person who is unable any to differentiate what are the integrals and what are the recommended acts, then the prayer any will not be valid. طيب. Then he mentioned وَأَنْ لَا يَعْتَقِدَ فَرْضًا مِنْ فُرُودِهَا سُنَّةً. This also as what I mentioned earlier. Earlier the author mentioned that a person must know that the prayer that he is praying and is wajib, and also all the integrals as wajib. So he must not believe that any of the integrals as a sunnah. This is what the author is saying. وَأَنْ لَا يَعْتَقِدَ فَرْضًا مِنْ فُرُودِهَا سُنَّةً. And that he does not consider an obligatory act from amongst its obligatory acts to be recommended acts. So for example, as what I mentioned earlier, a person thought that recitation of the Fatiha is sunnah, or he said that for example tashahud akhir sunnah, or he said for example sujud actually is not wajib. So all these things will make the prayer becomes invalid. So this is a problem. وَطَهَارَ عَنِ الْحَدَثَيْنِ. Of course a person must be in a state of tahara. A person must be in a state of tahara when he performs any prayers. So he must be free from the major and minor impurities. So must be in a state of wudu. فَإِن سَبَقَهُ بَطَلَتْ. Yani if he is not in the state of ritual purity, then the prayer will not be valid. وَالطَّهَارَةُ عَنِ الْخَبَثِ وَفِي الثَّوْبِ. Likewise, there must be cleanliness. And when we are speaking about entering into prayers, we must make sure that our clothes, the place where we are praying, everything must be clean from khabath. Yani khabath here meaning najis, from filth, like urine, feces, like vomit, blood. But blood, of course, there is so many explanations to it. But basically, filth that is not forgiven. Fi thawbi wal badani wal makan. So whether it is in the clothes or in the body or in the place, where we are praying. Walau tanajjasa ba'du badanihi aw thawbihi wa jahilahu wajaba ghaslu jami'ihi wa la yajtahidu. Here the author is saying that if a person is afflicted with a filth in his body or in his clothes, and he does not know where exactly the filth is. For example, you have a shirt, and then you know for sure that there is a filth, but you do not know where. So it is compulsory that you wash the whole shirt. So you cannot just assume that the filth is there, unless you know, for example, you smell or you saw the patch of urine, for example, you know that only this part there is a filth, no problem. But if in a case where you cannot differentiate, for example, someone told you there is traces of urine in the shirt, but there has been a few days or a few months, so the traces cannot be known. So in this case we have to wash the whole shirt. Wala yajtahidu. And it is not permissible to do ijtihad in this situation. Meaning ijtihad here meaning putting in efforts to find out where the filth is. Tamam. But unless as I mentioned, if a person knows exactly where it is, then there is a different situation. But here as what the author mentioned, wajahilahu, because he does not know where exactly the field is. Walau rasala nisfa mutanajjisin summa baqiyahu tahura kulluhu in rasala mujawirahu. So there is some mistake in the strokes. It is supposed to be in and not an. Ala kulli hal. Okay, now for this I need to explain certain things. Just give me a minute. I just want to. Okay. Just want to make sure that I'm Yani on the right page. Okay, now I will speak about what the author mentioned here. Basically he's saying walau rasala nisfa mutanajjis summa baqiyahu tahura kulluhu in rasala mujawirahu. MashaAllah. I have to demonstrate. So let me demonstrate. Okay. So now I will demonstrate using this cloth, because the author is speaking about when you are washing a cloth. Tamam? When you are washing a cloth. So he said nisfa mutanajjis. So this is the cloth. This is nisf, half. So now he's saying that half of this cloth there is a filth, najis. There is a filth. So what I do, I wash the whole thing here. Tamam? I wash the whole thing because there is a filth, there is najis, any traces of urine, for example. So I wash from the top to the bottom. At the same time, it is compulsory for me to wash this part. Can you see? The part that I'm holding here. So it is compulsory for me to wash this part. Why? Because as I'm washing this part, what happens some of the filth here actually enters up. Because water, when you pour water spread. So since this part has filth, the water spread to where I'm holding. So this is also wet here. So it is compulsory for me to go back a bit and wash the part that I am holding just now. So let us look at what the author is saying. So this basically what he is saying. Type. He said, "Walau rasala nisfa mutanajjis." When a person wash half of the cloth that is najis, that's what I showed just now. Summa baqiyahu tahura kulluhu in rasala mujawirahu. So it becomes clean if he washes the mujawir. Mujawir is the place that we hold. Wa illa fayabqal muntasafu ala najasatihi. Otherwise there is still najis at the middle of the cloth. What is the meaning of middle of the cloth? So now imagine the cloth is like this. Okay, my cloth is like this. So I hold the half. Why? Because one half there is najis. One half there is najis, one half no najis. So I wash this part. This is the muntasaf. Muntasaf is the middle one. Tamam. So now the author is saying you are washing this part, and it is compulsory also for you to wash this part, the muntasaf. Why? As what I mentioned, because water spread. Then only the cloth will be clean. Otherwise it is not enough. Otherwise it is not enough. I hope it is clear, inshallah. So he said if you wash half of the area contacted with filth, and then he washed the rest of the area which was touched by filth, therefore the entire area becomes pure when the sides are also washed. If not, then half of the area still has filth. وَلَا تَصِحُ الصَّلَاةُ مَنْ تُلَاقِي بَدَنَهُ أَوْ ثَوْبَهُ نَجَاسَةٌ وَإِنْ لَمْ يَتَحَرَّكْ بِحَرَكَتِهِ. So now he's saying that a prayer will not be valid if there is a filth that is that touches the body or the cloth, or even things that touches the cloth. Lam yataharrak biharakatihi. For example, if a person wear a long dress, and he like the bride, they wear the long dress. At the end of the dress, there is a filth that is not forgiven. There is a filth like urine, for example, filth. So can she pray in that dress? Can she pray in that dress? Wa in lam yataharrak biharakatihi. Even if she is moving in her prayers, the end of the dress does not move with her movements. So here we say the prayer is not valid. Why? Because you are attached to the filth. Even though it doesn't move with your movement, but there is attachment. Tamam? So this is the thing that we have to understand. Then and he gave another example, and he said, "Wala salatu qabidi tarafi hablin ala najasatin." If a person and he is holding a rope, and the rope and he is attached to a field, likewise the prayer will not be valid, even though the rope does not move with his movement. And usually our scholars and he gave any this example any of tying a dog. Imagine any a person is praying and then he is holding a rope that is attached any to the neck of a dog. If he is holding any the rope while praying, the prayer becomes invalid, because the dog any is a field and you are attached any to the dog any by the rope. Even though the dog does not move, the rope does not move any with your movement. Tamam? Because any, even though if the rope any is very long, any for example 10 meters any rope, but it is attached any to a field, that is the dog, then yani it is not valid. Your prayer yani will not be valid. Wa illam yataharrak bi harakatihi. So if you hold any the rope, but if you put any the rope down and you step on the rope, no problem. But you cannot carry it, because when you are carrying it, you are basically carrying any a field. But if you put any the rope down, it carries any a different ruling, because you are not carrying the field. So he mentioned, wala yaduru muhadatun najasati min ghairi isabatin fi ruku'in aw ghairihi. But if you are praying, the field it is in front of you, muhada, meaning you are not touching any the field, but the field any is there near you. When you are doing ruku', for example, the field any is you are praying any near a field. But as long as you does not touch any the field, your prayer is still valid, even though you are near to the field. This is muhada. Tamam? So I hope it is clear, inshallah. I do not want to go round and round. I just want to get into the point and explain what is mentioned by the matan. Time is very limited in this class. I hope it is clear, inshallah. If it is not clear, you can just write in the comment section. If I don't have the time to read in this lesson, maybe I can bring to the next lesson to answer your queries, inshallah. Even those who are seeing this in recording or not live, you can also ask, no problem. Inshallah, I will look into it. Then he mentioned, watajibu izalatul washmi in lam yakhaf mahduran min mahdurati tayammum. So the author said that it is compulsory that the person remove tattoo. MashaAllah, Sheikh Bafadl speaks about tattoos, because last time tattoo is something that is an old tradition. It is not something new in the 21st century. Our scholars spoke about tattoo. The Bedouins last time they used to have any tattoos on their foreheads and in their faces. So he mentioned it is compulsory to remove tattoos, and if a person has tattoos, it is compulsory to remove the tattoos. But of course there are conditions. In lam yakhaf mahduran min mahdurati tayammum. If he doesn't have the fear from the fears of the sicknesses that makes tayammum permissible. What are the sicknesses that make any tayammum permissible? Number one, if it is life-threatening, meaning the doctor tells a person, if you remove your tattoo, because your tattoo is too much, the whole body tattoo, if you were to remove the tattoo in such a way, you will die. Khalas. It is not compulsory for him to remove tattoo. This is point number one. Point number two, mahzuratu tayammum. It make you lose the function of an organ. It is said that if you remove your tattoo, you become blind, or you remove the tattoo, your left hand will become paralyzed. Then it is not compulsory for you to remove your tattoo. Pray with your tattoo. Tamam? So this is the second about the mahzuratu tayammum. So number one is about life. Number two is about dysfunctioning of an organ. Number three, it can cause change in color of your skin. Change in color of your skin. Last time I used to remember some people what they do was they use an iron. So if they have for example any tattoo somewhere, so what they do, they take a hot iron and then they put on the skin. They take any hot iron and they put on the skin until the skin some sort like melt or something. Then the color of the skin will be changed. Now this is not compulsory, and if that is the case, that is the way to remove any tattoo. We say it is not compulsory for you to do that. Because mahduratu tayammum includes shainul fahish, shain. Yani if it causes the skin and to change any color, it is not any compulsory. But nowadays, wallahu alam, nowadays you have this laser treatment, correct or not? Yani if a person can remove the tattoo by using laser and it's easy, for example, that no pain, no harm, no nothing. But sometimes it can be costly, and this also depends if a person has the capacity or does not have the capacity. But in that case, the obligation is for sure that if a person is able to remove any of the tattoos without any harm, then we say it is compulsory for them to remove that, especially if the tattoo is just a small tattoo. For example, some people they have like a small tattoo of a butterfly for example on the arm, then it is compulsory for them to remove. Otherwise any prayers will not be valid. But some people subhanallah their tattoo is so big, then we have to look at the capacity of a person, and how the tattoo is to be removed. وَيُعْفَى عَنْ مَحَلِّ اسْتِجْمَارِهِ. The author mentioned that if a person is doing istinja with stones, there are still traces of filth at the private parts, it is forgiven. وَعَنْ طِينِ شَارِعِ. If a person is in a place where there are a lot of mud and it is mixed with najis, it is forgiven. It is forgiven. And if, for example, you are walking in the streets, and it was a rainy day and there was a lot of mud and puddles of water, suddenly a car come and the water splash and hit you, and you know that sometimes there is a possibility, this water there is filth, it is forgiven. It is forgiven. So this is tini shari alladhi tayaqqad najasatahu. Even though he is convinced that there is najis, but this is forgiven. This is forgiven because it is difficult for a person to remove himself from the mud or from the soil of the streets. Now, unless if he is in a state where he can prevent himself, but he chose to jump on the what you call it, on the soil and so on, and some filth hits him, then it is not any forgiven. So we spoke about the person who is doing any istinja with stones, and we say it is forgiven. It is forgiven on the filth that what you call it, the remnants of the filth at his private parts. We spoke about the soil of the streets and the mud is also forgiven, even though he is convinced there is najis, because it's difficult for him to prevent himself from being hit. وَيَتَعَذَّرُ الْإِحْتِرَازُ عَنْهُ غَالِبًا. This is where the author mentioned it is difficult for him to protect himself from the filth. وَيَخْتَلِفُ بِالْوَقْتِ وَمَوْضِعِهِ مِنَ الثَّوْبِ وَالْبَدَنِ. But this also differ in situations. For example, our scholars mentioned if it is in winter, it is more forgiven rather than summer, because summer usually there is dryness. But when there is a lot of wetness and flood and so on, then it is forgiven. So it depends on the situation. As what I mentioned, that if a person can prevent easily, then it is not forgiven. But unless he has difficulty, this is the i'tizar, where he say يَتَعَذَّرُ الْإِحْتِرَازُ عَنْهُ, difficult for him to protect himself, then it is not permissible. Wallahu a'lam bis-sawab. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adhaban nar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.